So,
Yes.
whereas actually Kasparov touched on that, is that Botvnik really had to work with him to make him become patient and just kind of let the guy have a chance to play. Gary, you're like forcing things too much, you know? You're not giving the guy a chance to show his true ability, you know?
Yes.
Whereas for you,
Strength.
you've always, from the get-go, you've always been very patient. Even when you were very young, you had very long in-games and so forth, you know? So, and then also, I remember in after Fischer 20 years later played, and I kind of feel like he sort of played Spassky 20 years later because kind of a known subject, and Fischer had tremendous fear of losing and so forth. And you did point out, look, Bobby played well the first couple of games, and he did win the match, and he did win 10 games, but he also lost 5 games. And so I think a little bit in looking at those 5 games that he lost, you could see a little bit of where Fischer might have been vulnerable. What do you think?
No, but you talk about 1992 match,
Yes, the rematch,
20 years past.
Yes.
No, that time, unfortunately, I think they played only one game when both were in good shape. Otherwise, Fischer was losing without too much resistance, and Spassky more often entered in such situation. But if we talk about 72, that match, famous match, which was one of the most historical moment in chess. So even that match, they played on the highest level, maybe how many? 12 games of that match. And then later they were exhausted, both were exhausted. And then they made mistakes, and so each game, almost each, no, maybe each second game could have different results.
Yeah, and of course, by the time you reach that stage of the match, Fischer had a huge lead, you know. So
no, then he won with 21 games. Yes, plus he had +4.
Yeah.
But you see, with experience what I had, even my match with, let's say, with Kamsky, I won it before the schedule, let's say. But still, it was fight in any game, and then you have big lead. But when you have fight in each game, so you can win, you can lose.
But also in a match, I think we've seen this a few times. You mentioned the match with Kamsky, great example. Kind of on-the-job training, if you will, where the weaker, younger player starts to learn. And the second half of the match, Kamsky almost held his own. It was like close to even or something. I mean, you got a big lead early, and then a lot of tough games.
Yes,
you know.
and then of course
same with Kasparov.
he is much younger, and so
same with
he's getting lessons.
Right? You know,
yeah.
You had that huge 5-0 lead, and then on-the-job training, he started getting better and better and learning. You know,
yeah.
And so similar type situation. Yeah, so that's one thing with the really long match. You know, is that the younger player starts to, you know.
No, younger player has stronger nerves, more energy. Of course, when you play long match, then a young player has advantage.